Last night, Jimmy Kimmel Live erupted into an unprecedented showdown when Denzel Washington, the legendary Academy Award-winning actor, was kicked off the set after a fiery confrontation with Jimmy Kimmel. A clash that left viewers stunned. The studio in chaos, social media exploding with the fallout. Sources say what began as a standard interview with Washington promoting his latest film spiraled into a heated exchange with Kimmel's pointed questions pushing Washington to a breaking point that ended in his shocking ejection. A moment already crowned the night's viral bombshell. Before we dive into this wild ride, drop a comment with where you're watching from. Hit subscribe for more jaw-dropping celebrity moments like this. Washington, the revered Hollywood icon, strode onto the set with his characteristic confidence, ready to discuss his new directorial project. But Kimmel wasn't setting up a celebration, opening with a sly jab. "Denzel, are you Hollywood royalty or just Hollywood's angry old king?" The quip, laced with edge, landed hard, and insiders say the audience felt it, some laughing, others tensing. As Washington's smile tightened, "I'm a craftsman, Jimmy, what are you?" The sparks flew fast. Kimmel rolled a clip of a scene from Washington's latest film, critics circling. "That's Denzel's masterpiece," he smirked. "But is it genius or just pretentious?" Washington fired back, his voice steady but eyes flashing. "It's honest work, Jimmy. We create, you criticize." The crowd splitting, some cheering, others shifting uncomfortably as producers watched, sensing the segment veering off script. Tension brewing visibly. Sources say the room buzzed with electricity. Washington's legendary composure held, but Kimmel's eyes gleamed with mischief. He sensed vulnerability, the stage set for a confrontation that would end with Washington ejected from the show. What's got everyone talking isn't just how it started, it's how quickly it deteriorated. Washington leaned forward in his chair. "You don't understand the craft, Jimmy. I'm building legacies. You're chasing ratings." And Kimmel struck. "Legacies? You're building ego, Denzel. I see right through it." His jab personal, piercing. The crowd gasped. Some shouted support for Washington, others filmed frantically on phones as the actor's jaw tightened, Kimmel's grin widening, the night charging toward a fiery, chaotic peak. The heat just beginning to blaze as Washington's hands gripped the armrests of his chair, knuckles whitening. Producers' voices crackled through headsets. "He's not happy. Stand by." Camera operators exchanged glances, zooming in on Washington's face as a muscle twitched in his cheek. The audience sensed the brewing storm, the studio's atmosphere electric with anticipation. Kimmel, sensing blood in the water, leaned in closer. "Tell us, Denzel, is it hard maintaining that perfect image when the cameras stop rolling?" The question hung in the air, loaded, dangerous. A threshold crossed. The night's entertainment had just become something else entirely, a public breaking point for one of Hollywood's most controlled, respected figures. The real confrontation about to ignite. The fiery confrontation on Jimmy Kimmel Live that ended with Denzel Washington kicked off the set began with seemingly innocent sparks, the tension masked beneath a veneer of showbiz pleasantries. Sources say that 40 minutes before the explosive ejection, the atmosphere bristled with subtle warning signs that producers dismissed too quickly. Our clash brewing beneath smiles, about to ignite. The studio hummed with anticipation, audience members shifting excitedly in their seats. "Coming up next," the announcer's voice boomed, "Academy Award winner Denzel Washington." The crowd erupted, phones raised high to capture the moment, while stagehands made final adjustments, their movements quick, practiced. Producers watched from the shadows, headsets buzzing with instructions. "Keep it light, Jimmy. He's promoting the film." Kimmel strode center stage, his smile broad but eyes calculating. "We've got Hollywood royalty tonight, folks." His tone playful yet edged with something sharper. The audience cheered as Washington emerged from backstage, his walk confident, measured, his trademark smile firmly in place. The two men shook hands, a gesture that looked warm to viewers, but insiders noted the briefest hesitation, a subtle sizing up. "Denzel Washington, everyone." Kimmel gestured grandly as they settled into their seats. "Director, producer, and now playing a character some critics are calling morally ambiguous at best in your new film." The jab, light but pointed, hung in the air. Washington's smile didn't falter, but something flickered behind his eyes. "Art? Sure challenge, Jimmy. Make people uncomfortable sometimes." His voice smooth, controlled, professional. Kimmel nodded, leaning forward. Challenge is one thing, but playing a cop who crosses every line, in today's climate? The question loaded, the studio temperature seeming to drop several degrees. Washington shifted almost imperceptibly. Characters aren't endorsements, Jimmy, they're explorations. His tone remained even, but producers noticed his posture stiffen slightly. The audience sensed the undercurrent, a murmur rippling through the rouse. Kimmel pressed on, his smile widening. "Explorations, sure, but some are saying this film of yours glorifies exactly the kind of behavior protesters are fighting against." His tone casual, but the words barbed. Washington's expression remained neutral, years of media training evident, but his fingers tapped once, twice against the armrest. A tell. "Let's roll a clip," Kimmel continued, turning toward the screen. "This is the scene everyone's talking. It's about." As the lights dimmed, Washington's face caught the blue glow of the monitor. His jaw set, eyes narrowed slightly. Producers exchanged glances, one mouthing to another. "He's not happy." The clip began to play. Controversial, provocative, the fuse quietly sizzling toward the explosion that would rock the night's broadcast and send social media into a frenzy. The fiery confrontation on Jimmy Kimmel Live intensified as the interview progressed, tension building like heat in a pressure cooker. Sources say 20 minutes before Denzel Washington's explosive ejection, the casual jabs transformed into pointed barbs, the actor's legendary composure beginning to crack visibly. A showdown brewing, audience members exchanging nervous glances, as the atmosphere shifted from entertainment to something more volatile. The controversial film clip ended, lights coming up to reveal Washington's tightened expression, a muscle working in his jaw. Kimmel leaned forward, sensing vulnerability. "Strong stuff, right? But I wanted to talk about something else." He gestured to the production team. "Roll the next clip." Washington shifted in his seat, eyes narrowing slightly. Not briefed on this, not part of the plan. The screen flickered to life again, showing Washington at a press conference from 3 months earlier, speaking passionately about political divisions. Then, cut to a conservative commentator tearing into his statements. "Hollywood elitist," the pundit sneered. "Lecturing Americans while living behind mansion walls." The clip ended abruptly, the studio uncomfortably silent. So, Kimmel's voice cut through the tension. "Care to respond to that?" His tone light, but eyes challenging. Washington stared at him, the silence stretching for 3 long seconds. "That wasn't what we discussed backstage." His voice low, controlled, but carrying an unmistakable edge. First public crack in the facade. The audience stirred, some murmuring, others leaning forward. Reality television unfolding live. Kimmel shrugged, feigning innocence. "Just thought it was interesting. You make political statements but don't like pushback?" The provocation deliberate, calculated. Washington's hand tightened on the armrest, knuckles whitening briefly. "I make statements I believe in, Jimmy." Washington's voice dropped lower, intensity building. "I don't hide behind comedy to take cheap shots." The counterattack sharp, unexpected. A ripple ran through the audience, some cheering, others gasping. The interview veering dangerously off script. Producers in the wings making frantic gestures, one whispering urgently into a headset, "Get ready to cut to commercial." Kimmel's smile flickered but held. "Cheap shots? I'm just asking questions the audience wants answered." He gestured to the crowd, playing to them. "Don't they deserve that?" More cheers, mixed with uncertain applause. Washington leaned forward, personal space diminishing between the men. "They deserve respect, so do guests on your show." The temperature in the studio seemed to rise several degrees. Camera operators zooming in, capturing Washington's flaring nostrils, the slight tremor in his usually steady hands. Kimmel sensing blood, pressing his advantage. "Speaking of respect, what about your comments on police reform last month? Another clip we should—" "No more clips." Washington's voice cut through the air like a blade, the first time he'd interrupted. The audience fell silent, tension crackling through the studio like electricity before a storm. The confrontation accelerating toward its inevitable explosive. Conclusion. The fiery confrontation on Jimmy Kimmel Live escalated toward its breaking point as the interview veered into dangerous territory. Sources say 15 minutes before Denzel Washington's explosive ejection, the exchange transformed from professional disagreement to personal attack, the studio atmosphere charged with hostility, producers frantically signaling from the wings, their gestures growing more urgent, ignored by both men locked in verbal combat. "Let's move on then," Kimmel said, false smile plastered across his face, eyes gleaming with the predatory look of a host sensing ratings gold. "I've been hearing some interesting stories about your new film set." He leaned forward, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "Word is you're not the easiest person to work with these days." The accusation hung in the air, naked, brazen. Washington's expression hardened, the consummate professional facade cracking visibly. "Sources, Jimmy? Anonymous whispers?" His voice razor-edged, cutting through the sudden tension. "That's your journalism?" The audience shifted uncomfortably, divided loyalties evident in scattered applause mixed with nervous murmurs. Kimmel pressed harder, sensing vulnerability. "Multiple crew members, actually, said you're—" He consulted a card with theatrical flair. "Impossible to please and verbally abusive when scenes don't go your way." His tone light but eyes challenging. Washington's hands gripped the chair arms, knuckles whitening against the dark fabric. "Interesting." Washington's voice dropped dangerously low. "Know what I heard about you, Jimmy?" The unexpected counterattack. The host's smile faltered momentarily. "That writers quit because you take credit for their jokes, that you berate staff when cameras aren't rolling." His eyes never leaving Kimmel's face. "Should we discuss that?" Gasps rippled through the audience. Kimmel's producer made a slashing motion across her throat, cut to commercial, but the host ignored her, face flushing. "We're talking about you tonight, Denzel, not me." His voice strained for lightness, but tension vibrated beneath. "Your reputation's the one changing in Hollywood." Washington leaned forward, closing the distance between them. "My reputation? 40 years in this business. I've earned my reputation." Each word precisely enunciated, controlled fury evident. "What have you earned besides cheap laughs and cheaper shots?" The counterattack landing visibly, Kimmel's jaw tightening. The audience's reaction split the room, half cheering Washington's comeback, others booing the disrespect to their host. Production staff converged at the stage edges, one producer frantically whispering into his headset, "This is bad, really bad." Another signaling desperately for a commercial break, motions, growing more frantic by the second. Kimmel recovered, leaning back, feigning casual amusement. "Hey, just repeating what I've heard. But since you brought it up," he reached for a card on his desk, a malicious gleam in his eye. "I've got quotes here from your last 3 directors. Want to hear them?" The provocation deliberate, calculated, taught a wound. Washington's eyes narrowed to dangerous slits, body tensing visibly as he leaned forward. "Jimmy," he said, voice barely above a whisper, yet somehow filling the silent studio. "You really don't want to go there." The warning clear, the atmosphere electric with imminent confrontation as the interview hurtled toward its explosive conclusion. The fiery confrontation on Jimmy Kimmel Live reached its flashpoint as tensions erupted between the host and his increasingly agitated guest. Sources say 7 minutes before Denzel Washington's explosive ejection, the exchange crossed a line that shattered all pretense of professional civility. The studio crackled with dangerous energy, producers now openly signaling for intervention, their faces etched with panic. "Oh, I think we should go there," Kimmel countered, ignoring Washington's warning, waving the card in his hand. The audience deserves the truth behind the Denzel myth. His tone deliberately provocative, playing to the cameras. The control room erupted in chaos, director shouting, "Cut to commercial now!" But the broadcast continued, executives frozen. In horrified fascination, Washington's breathing visibly changed, shoulders rising slightly, the legendary composure fraying at its edges. "So you want to talk truth, Jimmy, or just ratings?" His voice carrying an undercurrent of barely contained fury. Audience members exchanged glances, some recording frantically on phones, sensing historic television unfolding. Kimmel leaned back, feigning casual confidence despite the danger signals. "Speaking of truth," he said, smile turning cruel, "your son's film career isn't exactly taking off, is it? Nepotism only goes so far without talent." The personal attack landing like a physical blow, targeting family, the one boundary seasoned. Journalists knew never to cross with Washington. A sudden, terrible stillness fell over the actor. The studio audience gasped collectively, someone muttering, "Oh shit," loud enough to be caught on microphones. Washington's expression transformed, the professional mask dropping completely, revealing raw, unfiltered rage beneath. His hands gripped the chair arms so tightly the wood creaked audibly. "My family," Washington said, each word precisely enunciated, voice dropped to a dangerous whisper, "is off limits," the warning unmistakable, primal. 3 security personnel moved closer to the stage, sensing the shift from television interview to potential physical confrontation. Kimmel, committed now to his disastrous course, pressed on. "Just saying what everyone in Hollywood knows." He shrugged with exaggerated nonchalance. "Your kids got opportunities others. One more word about my children." Washington's interruption sliced through the air, rising slightly from his seat, finger pointing directly at Kimmel's face. Not a threat, a promise. The audience divided instantly, half cheering Washington's defense, others booing the disrespect to their host. Chaos building in waves. Production staff now physically entering camera frame, the producer herself approaching the stage, headset askew, gesturing frantically. "We need to break, now!" Her voice carrying in the increasingly chaotic Kimmel, seeing his producer but choosing ratings over reason, delivered the final blow. "Touchy subject? Maybe focus less on defending your kids and more on raising them right." The cruel jab calculated, deliberate, unforgivable. Something visibly snapped in Washington. He stood fully, knocking the interview chair backward with a crash that echoed through the stunned studio. "You crossed the line," he said, voice trembling with barely contained fury, moving toward Kimmel as security rushed forward. The night's entertainment transformed in an instant to something dangerous, unpredictable, explosive, and still broadcasting live to millions of homes across America. The fiery confrontation on Jimmy Kimmel Live exploded into chaos as Denzel, Washington, the composed legend of American cinema, transformed before millions of viewers into a man consumed by righteous fury. Sources say in the 3 minutes before his ejection, the studio descended into unprecedented pandemonium. Producers screaming into headsets, audience members standing in shock, the broadcast control room frozen in disbelief. A television moment, shattering all boundaries of celebrity interview decorum. Washington advanced toward Kimmel's desk, security personnel rushing from stage wings but hesitating, uncertain how to handle a beloved cultural icon, a man whose dignity they'd grown. Up respecting, now moving with dangerous intent. "Are you think my family is your punchline?" His voice carried through the studio despite having no microphone, decades of theatrical training evident even in rage. Kimmel rose from his chair, backing up slightly, smile faltering as he realized he'd miscalculated catastrophically. "Easy, Denzel, just television banter." His attempt at de-escalation drowned by audience reaction. The studio split between chants of "Denzel, Denzel," and others shouting for order. "Banter?" Washington's voice thundered, stopping mere feet from Kimmel. "You disrespect my children for ratings." He slammed his hand on the desk, the sound cracking like a gunshot through the studio. Water glasses jumped, papers scattered. "That's not banter, that's cowardice." Each word precisely enunciated, despite the fury behind them. Security finally moved between them, 3 men forming a human barrier. The lead guard placing a hesitant hand on Washington's shoulder. "Sir, please." Washington shrugged it off without looking, eyes locked on Kimmel, who had regained some composure, sensing the footage unfolding would dominate news cycles for days. "Maybe this reaction explains those on-set rumors," Kimmel said, voice carrying just enough to be caught by microphones, the taunt deliberately aimed to provoke further. The audience gasped collectively, someone shouting, "Shut up, Jimmy," from the back rows. Washington moved forward again, security struggling to contain him without appearing to manhandle an American icon. "You hide behind that desk," he said, pointing directly at Kimmel, taking shots at people's families, their children. His voice breaking slightly on the word children, emotion overwhelming even his professional control. "You're not a comedian. You're a bully with a platform." The audience erupted, phones recording frantically, social media already exploding with clips, the executive producer herself now on stage, signaling desperately to cut the broadcast. But the red light still glowed on cameras, America watching transfixed, as Washington's legendary composure shattered completely. "Get him out of here," Kimmel said to security, voice carrying artificial confidence belied by his rigid posture. Seems like those anger management rumors were true. The final, deliberate provocation. Washington lunged forward, security barely containing him as he roared, "You don't know anything about me." The struggle intensifying, audience members gasping, some standing on chairs for better views. The night's entertainment transformed into something raw, primal. The public witnessing a breaking point, reached by a man known for unshakable dignity, now being physically restrained on national television, as Kimmel watched with a mixture of fear and calculated satisfaction. The fiery confrontation on Jimmy Kimmel Live reached its explosive climax as security personnel forcibly removed Denzel Washington from the set, the legendary actor's dignified career momentarily eclipsed by raw human fury. Sources say the 60-second exit sequence played out like dramatic cinema, the studio audience in uproar, producers finally cutting to commercial but internal cameras still rolling, capturing every explosive moment of the unprecedented celebrity. "Meltdown, get your hands off me," Washington growled as 3 security guards guided him firmly toward the exit. His resistance evident but controlled, even in rage, the actor maintaining a thread of self-awareness. The audience divided into chaos, some standing on chairs chanting his name in support, others booing the disruption, dozens of phones raised high, recording every second. Kimmel stood behind his desk, straightening his tie with exaggerated composure, his expression a calculated mix of shock and triumph. "And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what happens when you can't take a joke," he quipped, to scattered, uncertain laughter, voice carrying just enough to be caught on Washington's retreating microphone. Washington spun back, security tightening their grip on his arms. "A joke?" His voice carried through the studio despite the guards' efforts to move him. "You disrespect people for a living and call it comedy." The accusation landed like a physical blow, resonating with pockets of the audience who cheered in agreement. "That's not entertainment, that's pathetic." The exit pathway became a gauntlet, audience members reaching out, some trying to touch Washington in support, others filming his humiliation with gleeful fascination. The production assistant scrambled ahead, clearing the way, her headset askew, whispering frantically, "Keep moving, please keep moving." The public ejection of Hollywood royalty unfolding in excruciating real time. At the stage exit, Washington stopped suddenly, security unable to move him without applying force they were reluctant to use against a beloved cultural icon. He turned, gaze finding Kimmel across the chaotic studio. "You think you won something here?" His voice dropped, somehow cutting through the noise. "You sacrificed decency for ratings." The statement landing with unexpected weight, several audience members lowering their phones, the moral clarity momentarily piercing the circus atmosphere. Kimmel's smirk faltered briefly before recovering. "Sounds like someone needs a timeout," he called back, doubling down on provocation despite producers frantically signaling from the wings, drawing scattered, uncomfortable laughter. Washington shook his head, disappointment mixing with anger. "Remember this moment, Jimmy," he said, voice carrying quiet intensity despite the chaos. "When you traded your humanity for applause." With that he turned, shrugging off security's hands. "I'll walk myself out." His dignity reasserting itself as he strode through the exit, back straight, head high despite the humiliation. The door had barely closed behind Washington when Kimmel addressed the stunned audience, cameras now officially rolling again. "Well, that got a little intense," he said with practiced nonchalance, straightening cue cards as though nothing extraordinary had occurred. Guess some people can dish it out, but can't take it. His voice carrying artificial confidence while backstage, out of camera range, crew members exchanged shocked glances, one whispering to another, "This is going to blow up everywhere." The fallout from Denzel Washington's explosive ejection from Jimmy Kimmel Live erupted across media platforms with volcanic force, the confrontation transforming from television moment to cultural flashpoint within hours. Sources say the clip garnered 50 million views before dawn, sparking fierce debates about celebrity treatment, journalistic ethics, and the boundaries of comedy. A digital wildfire consuming all other entertainment news in its path. Washington's publicist huddled with crisis management experts in a downtown office, phones buzzing relentlessly with media requests. "We're drafting a statement emphasizing the unprofessional targeting of family members," she instructed, voice tense but controlled. Denzel won't apologize for defending his children. Across town, Kimmel's team orchestrated their own narrative, producers leaking to friendly outlets that Washington had been increasingly difficult backstage before the interview. Social media, fractured along predictable lines, hashtags battling for dominance. Team Denzel trended alongside Kimmel knocked out, while entertainment journalists dissected the confrontation with forensic precision. The moment Kimmel mentioned Washington's children, he crossed a line every interviewer knows exists, noted one veteran reporter. Her analysis shared thousands of times within minutes. Celebrity reactions poured in. The industry divided. "What we witnessed was the justified reaction of a father being provoked for ratings," tweeted Viola Davis, her support echoed by numerous black actors, highlighting the racial undertones of the incident. Others rallied behind Kimmel, comedian Seth Rogen posting, "Interviews aren't supposed to be PR puff pieces. Jimmy asks what audiences want to know." Morning shows devoted entire segments to the confrontation, playing the clip on endless loop, each replay generating fresh waves of commentary. "What's fascinating is watching Washington's legendary composure crack in real time," observed one host, the panel nodding sagely. "That moment when he stood up, you could feel 40 years of restraint shattering." Washington himself remained publicly silent, but close sources reported he was reflective, not regretful about defending his family. "He understands the optics, but wouldn't change his response," revealed one insider to a subscription-only entertainment newsletter. Meanwhile, Kimmel doubled down on his late-night monologue the following evening. Apparently asking questions is now considered offensive, he quipped to mixed audience reaction. Some applause noticeably muted. Cultural commentators elevated. The confrontation beyond mere celebrity drama. "What we witnessed was the collision of old and new Hollywood," wrote one respected critic. "Washington represents an era of carefully maintained dignity, while Kimmel embodies the anything-for-engagement ethos of modern entertainment." The analysis resonated, shared across platforms by those seeking deeper meaning in the spectacular. Clash.network executives monitored the fallout with calculating eyes, one confiding anonymously. Ratings spiked 140%. Uncomfortable truth? Conflict drives viewership. This cynical calculation contrasted sharply with public reaction, viewers increasingly divided between those condemning Washington's loss of control and others applauding his authentic defense. Gav boundaries. As clips continued circulating, subtly different edits emerged, some emphasizing Kimmel's provocations, others highlighting Washington's aggressive response. The truth of the encounter, fragmenting across competing narratives, each viewer selecting the version that confirmed their existing beliefs. The confrontation transcending mere entertainment to become a mirror reflecting America's divided cultural landscape.